stop wasting your money on all this useless crap. Hey everybody, Josh the RV Nerd of Bish's RV, and I've got a 16 plus year career going on right now. Career, if you want to call it that. Makes it sound all official, like I'm not just some chubby dad bod idiot talking on a camera. Anyway, there are these recurring pitfalls where I've seen people over and over again make the same mistakes. They continue to buy certain accessories and waste their money. They're like, yeah, I used it once, then I never did it. And I hear the same things from people all the time. Or there's just recurring mistakes that I see people make that end up costing them lots and lots of money. Now, some of the stuff we're going to talk about today is stuff that we could literally sell you and make money on back here. And I'm going to be telling you, don't do it. Now, this is just my opinion. I will not claim to be an authority. I call myself an experienced idiot. But if you appreciate how I'm telling you not to just not spend money on certain things, even though we could theoretically benefit from it, there's no benefit in this for me, for us. I don't have an Amazon link to try to sell you something else. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just not what we're doing here today. If you appreciate that, hit that subscribe button. And let's go through 10 different ways here that you could just keep some money in your pocket or avoid some really costly repairs. First up are the super cheap RV sealants. Now, most RV stores don't tend to carry this stuff because they know that it's more trouble than it's worth. Like, they don't actually even want to use it as their own shop supplies. And that's actually a really interesting, like, RV shopping test of a dealership, by the way, because I think you buy the dealership as much as the RV. But walk through their service department and look at the sealants they have on shelves, and then grab your phone and just get on Amazon or Google or anything and read the reviews on those sealants, because the sealants that are on the shelves typically are the same sealants that they use back in their service center. There's a very high correlation there. But, you know, I'm not trying to knock Walmart. I shop at Walmart. I'm not above it or anything. But they don't specialize in RV stuff. And I'm not saying every single RV related item you can get from Walmart sucks, but the super cheap, like, dollar budget sealants that they have, it's basically, read the reviews on this stuff. It's like basically trying to hold your your roof membrane together with bubble gum. It's like health insurance. You get to pay money for it now for nothing, so that you get to pay more money when something goes wrong later. Just don't do it. Now, number 2 in this list here is a bit of a hot take, and it's going to make some people mad at me. But I stand by what I'm saying. Even though we could make money selling you these things, I do not recommend changing to aftermarket hitch pin boxes on fifth wheels. And there's so many people who are like, what a bunch of crap, this guy's an idiot. I changed my pin box out to, like, I won't get into names because I don't want this to sound like I'm attacking anybody. But people have changed out their fifth wheel hitch pin boxes to something the chassis was not approved for. And that is one of the highest frequency causes of fifth wheel frame flex. There's going to be some people who are rolling their eyes right now calling me an industry shill. I'm literally telling you, don't spend money on these things at my store. There's no benefit in this for me or my team. I believe this wholeheartedly. Some people say, well, that's because, say like Lippert, the chassis manufacturer for almost all fifth wheels, they just don't want other people to make money in that space. They only want to sell their fifth wheel hitch pin boxes. It's about the geometrical stress that gets applied to an RV. If you change the fifth wheel pin box, like if you change from a fifth wheel to a gooseneck coupler even, you're changing how much stress gets applied to the RV's chassis and in which places that stress gets expressed. And if you take a chassis that's made for a traditional fifth wheel kingpin box and rearrange it in a way that it's not made for, something is eventually going to give. Now, if you don't camp a lot, if you don't tow a lot, you've probably never experienced that. But if you are on the road a great deal, like a lot of full-time RVers, they want a softer ride in their vehicle. So they'll exchange to some variety of aftermarket heavy-duty pin box situation, which that chassis may not be made for. Then they can land themselves into a situation where things have flexed too much. We end up with sidewall cracks and all kinds of damage in that regard. And suddenly now you've got major insurance claims. Now, I do not blame customers for the history of the exchanged fifth wheel pin box frame flex scenario. I do not blame people for that. I actually think the blame for that really does fall on the hitching service centers, including the vast majority of RV dealer groups. Real talk, we have made this mistake for people. If you want to change out your pin box, I don't have a problem with that. But generally speaking, dealerships and hitching specialist locations, because sometimes you have places that do nothing but hitching and they're not dealers, they are supposed to be the experts on this topic. And if you're going to spend a bunch of money on your even more money expensive thing, it would seem that if there's a side effect, a dangerous side effect, something that could cause damage or problems down the line, it should be our responsibility to share that with you. But I don't think that happens enough. They just say, yeah, you want to spend your money, hand it over, and we'll slap the thing on there. And then when it breaks, the response you get when you go back to your hitching specialist is, oh, don't talk to me, talk to the guy who built your camper. I don't know, must be junk. It reminds me of that Spider-Man meme where you have customers and manufacturers and dealers all pointing fingers at one another. Sorry, that's the first place that my mind goes. I think educating you folks on what you should do and should not do is one of the best ways to avoid that situation. There are sometimes approved aftermarket pin boxes. The best suggestion I have for you is take the dealer out of that equation and call the customer service department of your RV's manufacturer with your specific VIN number and say, are there any aftermarket pin boxes that my chassis is approved for? And it might mean that there's not, and there might not be any recommendations for a softer, better ride, and that might suck. But that's the real of it, and that's what I want to provide you. Number 3, almost all of these anti-mosquito gimmicky things are a complete waste of money. These little wristbands, these little stretchy wristbands that looks like a scrunchie to hold your hair up. Not that I would know, but you get the idea. Maybe those of you who have hair. They're worthless. The little sonic things where it plays an inaudible sound that keeps the mosquitoes away. You know what it keeps away? It keeps a couple dollars away from your wallet. It's a waste of money. Don't even worry. Don't do it, because then you get to waste more money on batteries also. Mosquitoes hunt by smell. The only thing that you can do is make yourself invisible to their sense of smell. And there's a couple different ways you could do that. The DEET is really the gold standard of anti-mosquito stuff, but it does not smell nice, and a lot of people don't like the idea of the chemical aspect of it. Respect, no problem. I get it. If that's not you, that's fine. There are some more natural alternatives like lemon eucalyptus oil, lavender, peppermint oil, but the recurring trend here is these are things with very strong odors that is overpowering your human stink. I'll just say it. And a lot of times when people are camping, like I've had a lot of friends and customers who have become friends who will like be passing through the store to get something real quick, like between destinations, like, hey, we've been camping, you don't want to hug me. I'm a hugger. I might be kind of stinky. It's like, yeah, a lot of times when people camp, they take quick little cowboy showers. Some people do, some people don't. You get the idea, but it makes you more visible and tastier smelling to mosquitoes. There is one really interesting way that you can actually kind of shield yourself from mosquitoes. It's not foolproof, but nothing is, but like airflow. Think about a mosquito. It's tiny. It weighs nothing. And like if there's a mosquito in front of you and you go, whew, it goes woo, like it goes flying. It just gets picked up by the wind that you created. Well, if you have like a standing fan and set it outdoors and then set in front of it, the mosquitoes have a hard time getting on you. Again, it's not perfect, but sometimes a little airflows outdoors is nice, so maybe a little bonus 2-for-1 for you. Now, number 4 on the list today probably should have been number 2, and that is what I'm going to call the overpriced John Wayne RV toilet paper. I call it John Wayne toilet paper because it won't take crap off no one. Some of that stuff is fine, but typically it's It's just one step below sandpaper, typically, when it comes to how abrasive it is. And the idea is that this stuff breaks down more easily. Now, some places have super cheap RV toilet paper. Usually it's the kind you don't actually want to put against your skin because it's uncomfortable. what you can do here, it doesn't necessarily have to be RV specific toilet paper. This is something that I used to feel differently about, but through some personal trial and error, I've found you can use residential toilet paper typically as long as it says septic safe. Septic safe toilet paper is just built a little bit differently. It tends to break down and shred more easily so that it can more easily be evacuated out of your holding tank. So, you know, good recommendation. Get a couple small packs of septic safe toilet paper, try it around your house a little bit, find one that feels a little bit better to you that you enjoy using, and then use that in your RV and enjoy the go, as Charmin says. Next up, number 5, 6, what are we on? Doesn't matter. 5, 6, 1, 2, 7, 8. Let's go. We're playing jazz. These stupid things. In theory, I get it. These little cargo rack systems of all kinds of different varieties that mount on RV ladders. I cannot tell you how much I despise these things. And I say that not as a person who's had bad experiences with them as a user, but someone who has seen these things be the source of so much damage and so many leaks on RVs over the years. It feels I can't believe that there's not more conversation about this. This is just maybe one of my soapboxes that I'll get on. But that rack, or that ladder on the back of your RV, it is not a cargo rack. It is not made to accept cargo. You should not strap crap to that ladder. Maybe this is a bit of a hot take, and I'm not trying to call anyone out individually, because I don't even know who's watching this. But you should not attach a bike rack. You should not attach a cargo rack. You should not hang chairs. You should not hang a black tank blue tote off your ladder. They are not made for that. People say, well, they're rated for 250 pounds. When the RV is at rest, when you strap cargo to the back of that and the entire tail of this RV is hanging out behind the axles and then it's bouncing, you are stressing the stanchions, the ladder mounts, in a way they were not designed for. And I'm the person who, for over a decade, I was the looker-atter of potential trade-in RVs. If you're going to trade your camper in, you're buying one from the dealership, and you're selling your camper to them, and they're looking at your camper the same way they're looking at your camper. Yeah, okay, I think you get what I'm saying. Anyway, I used to be the guy that would look at it to make sure it was in good condition. Whenever I saw something strapped to a ladder, or if I saw rub marks or something on a ladder where something had been, the first thing I would do is start climbing that. One, the ladder legs were almost always weak and probably leaking. And two, the number of leaks I saw around where the ladder attaches to the roof, it was like 90% of the time. It was a problem people didn't know they had self-inflicted. And I understand why. Again, I'm not blaming customers for this. I'm not saying you're stupid for having done it. You walked into an RV store. There was a part there. A person who's supposed to be looking out for your better well-being said, I'll sell that to you, and didn't tell you about any of the potential side effects, effectively, if we think about it like medicine. They took your money. They didn't tell you that it could be a problem. It's not your fault that there was a problem that arose as a result. So please take this as like a notice. Please don't strap crap to your ladder. And once again, this is stuff that sometimes even we have on the shelves. I hate that we even have this out in front of a customer, because I'm sure, even as strong as I feel about this, I bet most of the time even we aren't letting people know what could go wrong with this. So please just be educated yourselves and just avoid the damage entirely. Number 6, because I finally remembered what number we're on, these RV Wi-Fi internet gateway access point things. They've never been good. When mobile RVing and like remote working first started to become a thing, more people were looking for internet solutions in their RVs. And the RV industry has this way of concocting the cheapest, crappiest, but maybe kind of technically worksiest version of almost anything, and started offering RVs at $0 additional dollars, which should tell you how involved this really was, with Wi-Fi access points. And usually you had to buy this separate module and its own separate subscription and plug it into something on your camper. And typically it didn't work any better than your cell phone could have already worked, or a Wi-Fi, or like one of those little hotspots, cell phone hotspot or something like that. And now we have solutions like Starlink potentially available. What's really cool about Starlink is it tends to work really well where your cellular service does not. And where Starlink kind of sucks is where your cell phone service tends to work very well. So I feel that this is something that conceptually, I get why it existed in the industry. Thank you for not running over me, Mr. Carr there. I get why it existed conceptually. It was never done effectively. And before it ever got corrected and done well, we've already created better solutions to work around it. But it amazes me how many RV designers I talk to that they're still like, well, we've got that Wi-Fi access point. I'm like, what flipping good is that? They're like, I don't know. Like, go to any RV store. Nobody ever knows anything about these things because nobody wants to ever use them because they're terrible, because they don't really work very well. So if you are looking for mobile internet data solutions, cell phone hotspots, Starlink, those things truly are like the best options out there. Don't waste your money on these little access points when the phone in your pocket's going to do the same thing, probably better. Here's one that's probably not going to win me any friends. I don't know that I personally recommend investing or spending, maybe, money on like campground memberships. There are campground groups, chains out there that kind of effectively want to sell you the concept of an RV timeshare. Some of them are really cool. And if you camp a lot, they can be great. But the massive statistical majority of people do not camp enough to even come close to breaking even on those. And it can limit your options. Now, if you're somebody who camps a lot, you found a couple of these associated affiliated campgrounds that are really awesome that you enjoy, go nuts. Go nuts on that. If you're okay with doing that, do that. Like, here's a parallel that's not related to RVing. My family, my household, we're theme park hounds, and we are pass holders to Cedar Point Amusement Park, which is like one of the greatest, most epic roller coaster parks that's ever existed in the history of ever. And we are members there, and we go there a lot, and we get our value out of it. But there's a lot of different roller coaster parks. There's a lot of different places that we could go, and if we didn't go there a lot, it wouldn't be worth it to us. Here's my recommendation. If you are a first-time RVer, spend your first year or two bouncing around. If you find that you are going to really continue to enjoy the RV lifestyle, if you find that you you really like these one or two places and you want to go there a bunch, then investigate their memberships. But while you're new, just keep that money in your pocket and give yourself the freedom to explore different options. If you're somebody who likes to cook out, there's these little green pressurized propane bottles that are very common, very popular for a lot of cooking scenarios. And they're not necessarily without benefit. They allow you to cook away from your camper. Some people don't like the idea of the heat or the splatter or whatever near their RV. RV cookers, by the way, don't tend to put out enough heat to actually damage your RV, but some people still don't feel okay about that. You should always go according to your peace of mind. That's my personal opinion. But these green bottles, in the aggregate, are crazy expensive, and then you're creating a lot of extra waste. There's not really awesome proper ways to dispose of those. The proper way to dispose of them is not the convenient way you normally get rid of a lot of garbage. I know that most people are like, oh, I just throw it in the dumpster. I know I'm not supposed to, but I do. Well, you're not supposed to, you know. Instead, what you can do is there are basically adapter hoses where you can hook your grill straight up to the propane bottles on the RV instead of using those green pressurized bottles. Or you can get an extension hose. If your RV has a gas grill quick connect, you can get an extension hose to still be able to cook away from the camper. There's ways that you can use the onboard propane system of your RV, and refilling the onboard propane bottles compared to buying a bunch of these loose green bottles is so economically viable. Apparently Walter White with his Pontiac Aztec is working here behind us today. But you get the idea. Just use the propane system that's on the RV. If you spend $40-50 one time on an adapter hose, extension hose, or something like that, which is probably high, I don't know, I'm probably estimating high, I haven't priced them out, you'll still end up coming out way ahead, even over a single season of camping. Heisenberg. Next up, there are a world of accessories designed to bolt onto a rear bumper of an RV. There's bike racks, there's cargo racks, a lot, or just generic 2-inch that looks like a Class 3 receiver hitch. There's a world of things out there. The best recommendation I can give you is that if a manufacturer didn't put something there, you probably shouldn't. In my experience, what I have found is that people tend to treat all receiver hitches the same. So if somebody has an F250 receiver hitch, they tend to treat it the same as something bolted onto the bumper. Now, when I say that, everyone rolls their eyes and go, well, obviously those things are not equivalent. But they get used very often in an equivalent fashion. RV bumpers are only rated for about 200 pounds max cargo, and that is set from the chassis manufacturer. The thing here is that a spare tire and like a 2 bike rack going down the road bouncing, when there's moments of heavy G-force, there's moments where those things have an equivalent force, downward force, of more than 200 pounds of cargo sitting at rest, because bouncing cargo is far more violent than cargo at rest. So you might be able to put more than 200 pounds on it when it's just sitting there, but as soon as you start bouncing down the road, it's a problem. What you want to look for, ideally, pardon my cut finger here with the bandage, is an RV that already has a receiver hitch on the back of it, or an RV that has a factory supplied prep option for a receiver hitch. Like Freedom Express from Coachman does that, but that is pretty uncommon. If like someone's like, well, I could get a receiver hitch, then I could gusset up the bumper, or I could take it to a fab shop and have them add a receiver hitch to the back. You can, but no manufacturer covers that work. Manufacturers do not cover things they didn't do or put there under their warranty. So if you add a receiver hitch to the back of this, and let's say you have a front window leak, the manufacturer's warranty won't cover it, your insurance company won't cover it. If you got an extended service contract, they won't cover it, because you have messed with the structural aspect of this RV, and the way knee bones work to leg bones. A front window leak could be because you tweaked the frame enough that something went out of square, and now you have a leak in the front of the RV, even though you added weight to the back of the RV. This is all insane. This is stuff that can genuinely happen. And if you flip the script, if you're the person who's the insurance agent and you find out that a customer added a cargo tray in their bumper and then put a generator on the back, you're probably not going to want to cover them either. You have to look at it from their perspective to have that understanding. And I get that poses a problem with how some people want to camp. You're like, well, then I can't camp the way that I want to camp. I get it. That might mean you want to look at a different type of RV, or just be aware at least, again, of the downsides of those modifications and upfits that we're talking about here. My goal is to help you be more educated so that you have a choice. Do you roll the dice knowing that you could have a problem, which is different than walking into it blind because nobody bothered to warn you? I want to be the guy that warns you. The last one on the list here is something we have found the statistical majority of RV owners get wrong. And that is how they have their RV insured. Bish's RV is large enough. We're not the biggest RV dealer out there. I'm not a fool. But we're large enough that we actually have our own RV insurance company called Adventure Club Insurance. I'm not plugging that. I'm not trying to specifically push or promote that. But what it gave us access to is data that I wouldn't normally have. Bish's is a massive data hound kind of company. But what we basically found by speaking with folks and offering various quotes is we found that about 80% of existing RVers are not properly insuring their RV against the type of usage that they're employing. 80% of people are not insured properly. That's a crazy number. And I started thinking, how could that be? And then I started thinking about my own history. The statistical majority of people buying an RV finance it. The vast majority of those people financing an RV finance them through an RV dealership. And in an effort to try to streamline that process and to probably get a customer in and out the door as quickly as possible, if we're just being real about it, a lot of times the salesperson calls the insurance company to place that insurance and to provide that information for you. But these are people who don't actually know how you plan to use the RV, not as well as you would. and they are going to give as little information, typically, as possible to get off the phone as quickly as possible to get back on the phone to make the next sale, because that's where their income comes from. I have spent time in sales, and I was the person effectively doing that. Now, as it was commonly explained to me at the time, I'm doing this as a service to a customer, and in that respect, I get it. I'm calling an insurance company and relaying information that maybe the customer is not super familiar with, VIN numbers. I don't know. I'm doing it as a service to them, but being real. There'd be times where I'd be on the phone with an agent and they'd say, are they planning to use this for full time? I'd say no. I didn't know if they did or not. I have to accept that. I have to accept that, and do better moving forward. I want to provide this information out there. I will say also, the minority of the time, I have seen RV customers flat mislead insurance agents on the phone with the goal of trying to secure the lowest possible monthly insurance premium. And again, if I'm being candid, I could see myself capable of doing that mistake. I could. Here's a problem that I think we have. We want to pay as little per month as we possibly can. Makes sense. But when something goes wrong, isn't it funny how we have those expectations of we expected to have the most expensive, most premium level coverage possible, and then we're really bad when that doesn't come through? Again, most of the time, I don't think the customer is responsible for not placing proper RV insurance out there, but I've seen it happen. And again, if I'm just being totally real, I could see myself doing it. I'm not proud of that, but hey, sometimes you got to look yourself in the mirror to acknowledge so that you know how to try to improve moving forward. That's why I put these videos out now, to try to help people and help the community not repeat these mistakes. So if you're an existing RVer, here's a major recommendation that I have. Call your RV insurance agency and basically have a review of your coverage. Make sure that you have the proper coverage you need on your RV out there. If you want a second eyeball, call our Adventure Club Insurance. Call 3 or 4 different insurance agencies. Get a couple different quotes. Do some cross comparisons here. But make sure you're actually insured for the proper values. Because sometimes I've seen situations where, in the RV industry, it's no secret, there's dealerships that have thousands of dollars of hidden fees and stuff added onto things. Well, let's say you buy a camper for $23,000, but you end up financing $42,000. You might only have it insured for $23,000 if the salesperson called and did it for you. Not because they were trying to screw you, just because that's how they were taught to do it. So it'd be a really good idea to double check that, wouldn't you think? And if you'd like more kind of do this, don't do that, try to do this, buy this, don't buy that kind of info, I have a few other videos like this one right here that I've put out in the past that folks have found a lot of benefit on. And the feedback from the community in the comments is one of the things that kind of spurred me to make this video today. So maybe jump over to that video if you'd like to continue learning more, and if you want to catch the next thing we put out, hit that subscribe button and leave me a note. You agree? You disagree with anything that I shared today? Am I way off base on something? Is there something that I've missed? What is the #1 accessory that you bought that you wish you hadn't wasted your money on? Maybe we'll get to make a follow-up video based on community feedback. I don't know. But in the meantime, folks, thanks for spending some time with me. So take care, stay safe, have fun, and I hope this helps everyone.